ready for a captivating journey around the world as we bring you the most compelling human interest stories. Jeff Hicks, a renowned journalist and speaker, takes you on a heartfelt exploration of the human spirit and the incredible stories that shape our world. Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays. After much contemplation, I can't pinpoint exactly what makes it so special, but logic infers it's probably to do with the food. What other holiday in the American tradition places so much emphasis on food? Well, okay, all of them. We Americans like our food, and most of us are not shy about saying it. Even the Pilgrims, who lit on early American shores hundreds of years ago, did their best to lay the foundation of the food tradition. In fact, renowned historian and esteemed university professor Danny Norlander shared this bit of journal writing from colonist Edward Winslow, who wrote an account of what happened at the Pilgrims' first harvest celebration in 1621. He said this, and I quote, "Our harvest being gotten in, our governor sent 4 men on fowling, that so we might after a special manner rejoice together, after we had gathered the fruits of our labors. They 4 in one day killed as much fowl as with a little help beside served the company almost a week, at which time, amongst other recreations, we exercised our arms, many of the Indians coming amongst us, and amongst the rest their greatest king Massasoit, with some 90 men, whom for 3 days we entertained and feasted. And they went out and killed 5 deer, which they brought to the plantation, and bestowed on our governor, and upon the captain, and others. And although it be not always so plentiful as it was at this time with us, yet by the goodness of God we are so far from want that we often wish you partakers of our plenty." End quote. As Mr. Winslow mentioned, they ate fowl and deer, and no doubt they were thankful for it. And if we believe all the modern media marketing Thanksgiving to us consumers, with pictures of those early pilgrims sitting around their tables with turkey, dumplings, dressing, potatoes and gravy, caramel sweet potatoes, pickled beets, and steamed carrots with brown sugar, all topped with pumpkin pie and homemade ice cream. Then we would know our early American ancestors were well blessed in the food department. Actually, I made up the part about homemade ice cream. It just sounded good. As we all know, factually, those early pilgrims felt happy just to have a slice of venison to gnaw on. So, when did food become the focus of our holiday celebrations? We can all stipulate that food has traditionally been the center of the Thanksgiving festivities forever. And you know, it's all remained fairly traditional for the past hundreds of years. Traditional in the sense of the pilgrims sitting around eating turkey and dumplings. No doubt, we've added our own modern favorites to the list, and they've become traditional as well. Think of the mixture of green jello, fruit cocktail, and dream whip, for example. But seriously, I personally have always been a bit suspicious of foods tied to holidays. Who made the food rules? Truthfully, as far as Thanksgiving is concerned, if there were no turkeys, potatoes, dressing, and all the fixins, I'd probably pour a bowl of Fruit Loops, cold cereal, top it with a sliced banana, grab some toast slathered with apricot jam, and be just as happy as I would slobbering over a turkey leg. Seriously, I like cold cereal. I always have. Yeah, food is fantastico. Now I'm talking about holiday food, but I'm not bound to it. And cold cereal is all American. So by rights, it should be considered as a holiday tradition, in my honest opinion. I'm reminded of the time Bertie Hicks, Mom, decided it was time to lay down the law in the Hicks house. Her young brood was breaking the bank with all the out-of-control eating going on. You'd have thought she would hide the case of canned shrimp, wheat germ, or the Spam she always had stored in the pantry. That expensive garbage nobody ate. But no, she zeroed in on the cold cereal. "One bowl of cereal is all you kids get from now on, and I'll be watching, so don't think you can sneak more," she announced one day, using her sternest voice. Like Pavlov's dogs, we were conditioned to step in line when we heard that stern voice. We knew what was good for us. All was relatively peaceful and quiet around the house until the next Sunday morning. That morning, that would go down in infamy. My brother Mikey, the outlier in the group, went for broke that morning. He grabbed Mom's giant mixing bowl, poured in a box of cereal, added a quart of milk, a few cups of sugar, and started eating. The rest of us sat back with our meager portions and waited for the fireworks. Mom stepped into the room and saw her oldest kid downing cereal from a bowl half his size. She stood in shock for almost a full minute, her hands clenching and unclenching. A guttural sound emitted from her throat, much like the sound of a lion about to attack its prey. Her face contorted into something akin to those angry orcs J.R.R. Tolkien described as fighting for the evil Sauron. She was mad. I could never understand my brother's direct approach to fighting City Hall. I loved my cold cereal, but I wasn't willing to die on a hill of Fruit Loops. Anyway, to this day I eat cold cereal whenever I get the chance, and sometimes in honor of Mikey, who defied Mom that Sunday morning and lived to tell the story. But you know, as we discuss the topic of Thanksgiving food, what if we broiled some beef tenderloin rather than turkey for our Thanksgiving feasts? I'd even take a beef sirloin cooked medium rare over turkey breast. Throw some butter-basted giant shrimp in there and call it a meal. Years ago, Doris Hicks, Grandma, assigned herself carrot pudding with rum sauce for all of our family Thanksgiving feasts. "This rum sauce ain't got none of that extract in it," she proudly announced every year. "I use real rum. Come on over here and get a taste. It's good." She was right. It was better than good. It was delectable. And if you were lucky, you got 2 helpings. Often Grandma staggered to the Thanksgiving table with the smell of rum heavy on her breath, but we were polite and just helped her sit down and load her plate. And we thanked her for her skills cooking her famous rum sauce. In 1971, Mom made mincemeat pie as a side dish for our Thanksgiving feast. She used the venison from one of the deer that Dad shot that year. I remember that year well. It's the moment in time I swore I would never put mincemeat in my mouth again. And I haven't. I'm true to myself that way. It was food Hades. I swore I would never repeat. But interestingly, I can still remember the taste. Much like the grime that collects on your teeth from the dust kicked up shoveling cow manure out of the old milk barn. Mom was an excellent cook, so no slam against her cooking. The recipe was someone's ancient family secret that got passed down through her chain of friends. Should have been buried and forgotten. A few times over the years, I've gone to the all-you-can-eat restaurants for Thanksgiving feast. It's not bad. But we all know buffets are all about quantity rather than quality. But the truckloads of cheap food stacked on neatly decorated carts assuage everyone's better judgment, so nobody complains. And if something tastes bad at the buffet, you can simply push it aside and not eat it. That's something you wouldn't dare do at the family feast, especially if it was Aunt Gloria's sweet potato delight. You know what I'm talking about. It's the pan of cooked yams with the consistency and appearance of fresh baby crap right out of the diaper. And unlike the buffet chef, Aunt Gloria expects a compliment. "Wasn't my sweet potato casserole so good?" she asks. Yes, Auntie, you outdo yourself every year. One year when I was in my teens, my cousin Rick invited me to Wally's Cafe the Sunday following Thanksgiving. I had the choice of going with Rick or going to Sunday school class. It was an easy decision. "We've got a ton of food left over from last week's festivities," he said, "and I'm hungry. How about you?" "I'm famished," I said. "The only thing I've had all day is a single bowl of cold cereal that my mom rationed out. Let's go." Wally's was closed, so we had the whole cafe to ourselves. In those days, I could eat my weight in food in one sitting. Granted, I was only 130 pounds, fully clothed. But man, was Uncle Ralph's cooking scrumptious. Some of you probably remember it. No question, he was the best cook in the whole state of Idaho. And the nice thing about dining with Rick, when there was good food to eat, there was no chatting and visiting. It was strictly business. Rick took the act of eating to a higher level. Worked for me. Flatbed-sized load of scrumptious leftover food disappeared in silence that Sunday. So here's a question that needs to be asked. Have you ever sat down to Thanksgiving feast and the most delectable thing on the table are the rolls? I've experienced that many times. I honor and respect those whose skills include proper baking, especially of rolls and bread. One year, after gobbling over a dozen scrumptious rolls, I asked, "Who made these rolls? They're fantastic." Someone replied, "These are Rhodes rolls." Well, it just so happened there was a pimply-faced teenage kid in the group whose name was Rhodes. He was sitting across the table from me, gnawing on a turkey leg. "Gee, Rhodes, you're an expert baker. You should go into business," I said. He had no idea what I was talking about. Not long after that, for the first time, I noticed his famous rolls in the grocery store. I've always pitied those high school wrestlers during Thanksgiving festivities. You know who I'm talking about, those poor saps who are cutting weight while everyone else is gaining weight. I could never understand the level of dedication some of those athletes had to skip meals in order to make weight. As I recall, they allowed an extra pound or two during weigh-in over Thanksgiving holiday. But that was never enough for me. I carried 2 or 3 pounds extra in the consumption of Rhodes rolls alone. It was like, "Hicks, you're wrestling 126 tonight." "No, Coach. I'm jumping up to 155 for this match." Desserts are arguably the most popular course during Thanksgiving feasts. One year, my mom made 21 pies of various types. Days before, our house had the aroma of baking pies. It was like a factory. Cherry, apple, pecan, pumpkin, but thankfully no mincemeat. That year, there were over 100 relatives sharing in the feast. After lunch, people were laying all over the house in various stages of slumber. all because they ate themselves into unconscious oblivion. You've been there, you know. It happens. We've all seen it. But as soon as Mom announced it was time for pie, folks suddenly came alive. Mom had all her pies stored in the back room pantry. She trotted back there to bring her prized bakes into the kitchen. When she opened the door, the pies were nowhere to be seen. The shelves were empty. She came stomping back into the kitchen with a horrified look. "Okay, who took my pies?" she yelled. Nobody seemed to know. I said, "Mom, how did you lose 21 pies? All these people came here to dine on your famous pies. You may have a riot on your hands." I got the same look she gave Mixing Bowl Mikey years before. I enjoyed teasing Mom, especially by making 21 of her famous pies disappear. But Mom had a threshold. She could take teasing, but push her over the threshold, and you'd have a raving mad woman on your hands. For my own good health, I was one kid in the family who knew when to back off. So I found her pies where I had hid them earlier. There were folks in that joyous Thanksgiving crowd who valued their pie more than my life. Seeing their Thanksgiving dessert appear brought balance back to their lives, and they were suddenly happy again. I look back fondly on those years growing up in Idaho. My mind is full of cherished memories of the good old days, and those memories are priceless. Friends who have been listening, I hope you've had some of your own fond Thanksgiving memories flood your mind. Happy Thanksgiving! Be sure to share some of your own memories in the comments below. I've always believed our relationships are the essence of our existence. All of you, my friends and family, are who I'm most thankful for this year. You've been listening to Biz Break, a production of Voice Right Media.